Think about a time when someone had a talent or a gift they were given and just completely wasted it. I immediately think to sports because I'm a sports guy. If you follow the NFL, you're probably familiar with Josh Gordon. He was a wide receiver, super talented guy. He was out in the field. He looked like he might be the best receiver in the league when he was out there. The problem was he was never out in the field because he was always suspended because he couldn't pass the drug test. Difficult to play when you can't pass a drug test. But we look at him and say, what a waste of that talent and that skill that he was given. I mean, he just washed it away. Well, I don't know what was going on in his personal life or whatever, but, that's a talent we look at and say, I wish I had that talent, but again, he didn't use it to its fullest potential. Or maybe an opportunity that you're given. Could it be a schooling or a relationship or a job? Again, looking at sports, think of Aaron Hernandez. He was a tight end for the Patriots for a while. Great player. He grew up in a not-so-great situation and was involved with, gang activity and other stuff. And he had the opportunity to get out of that by playing football. He got to go to college. He got to make it to the NFL, make millions of dollars. But he never made the most of that opportunity because he did not give up what he was doing in his previous life. And he ended up in jail, and I won't give you the rest of the gory details of that story, but he completely blew the opportunity that he was given because he wouldn't give up his other life. So how do we get past losing out on these opportunities, and how do we not miss out on using the skills and the talents that God has given us? We don't want to end up at the end of our life and laying there wondering what happened. How did we waste our entire life on doing nothing? Well, the big thing for that is what we're talking about today is focus. How do you focus on your life and focus on the things that you're supposed to do in your life? There's a great quote on focus from Bruce Lee. Now, if you're not familiar with Bruce Lee, if you're maybe younger than my age, I'm not going to tell you what that age is, but if you're my age or older, you probably know Bruce Lee. He was one of the greatest martial artists of all time. This dude, if you watched him, he could kick and punch so fast, and he was ridiculously in strength. He did numerous movies. Most of them were kind of cheesy martial arts movies, but he did tons and tons of movies. But if you don't know some things about him, he actually did his very first movie at the 3 months of age. So he was just a little baby. His parents must have just stuck him in a movie somewhere as an extra. I don't know what that movie was, but at 3 months, he was already a movie star. He kicked and punched so fast, the cameras could not even keep up with the speed, and they actually had to film him in slow motion because it didn't look real in real life. So our cameras now probably could keep up with him, but the cameras they had at the time, he was actually faster than they could film. That's how ridiculously fast this guy could kick and punch. Strength-wise, he could do 50 one-arm pull-ups. So most of us can't even do one pull-up. I mean, take both arms up and try to, pull your whole body weight up. He could do 50 of them with just one arm. So dude was strong. He was an avid cha-cha dancer and actually a champion cha-cha dancer, which maybe kind of fits with the martial arts. I don't know, but it must have just been a side gig. Who knows? And one very little-known fact, that he was a very avid Michigan Wolverines fan as well. So in case you didn't know that, if you don't know me, I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan, so, whatever. Me and Bruce Lee got that going on. But anyways, he has a great quote on focus. It says, "The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus." So who wouldn't want to be a successful warrior? I mean, that sounds awesome. But all it takes is the average person with laser-like focus. So we have to take all of our energy and put it into one thing and focus in on it. And that's how you become a successful warrior. So what are we supposed to be focusing in on anyway? Well, God's got a few things that he wants for us to think about. He has plans for us, and he has a plan for our life. And those are things that he wants us to focus on. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They're plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." So these sound fantastic, right? He has plans for us, and they're good plans, not plans for disaster. We have a future and we have a hope. So this is a promise God has for us. So there's something he has in mind for our lives. In the end of John 10:10, it says, my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. I mean, who doesn't want a rich and satisfying life rather than a wasted life? That sounds awesome. And this is what God has for us, and he wants for us. So what talents or skills has God given you? You know most of these things, or some of them you might have to sit down and think about. What opportunities has he given you? What people has he placed in your life, and what relationships do you have? These are all different things that God maybe wants you to focus your life on rather than maybe some other miscellaneous things that aren't quite as important. So the big idea today, this is the thing you would just want to take with you and think about, and then if you remember nothing else, you can at least remember this. To focus on your life, you must focus on God. To focus your life, you must focus on God. So, of course, you're going to be looking at that and be like, well, duh, Andy, you just got to focus on God. That's the answer to everything, isn't it? But in reality, there's a lot to this that will help us stay focused. Colossians 3:2 says, set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are here on earth. Psalm 37:4, take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desires. Psalm 24, may he grant your heart's desires and make all your plans succeed. This is what God wants for us. If we can focus in on things that are above, take delight in God, and he's going to give us our heart's desires. Those are the things that he's put in us that we want to do, those things that he's given us. He wants us to be able to accomplish that. Luckily, he's also given us some steps to take that will actually help us get there. He didn't just throw that out there and say, go for it and wing it. There's actually some good things that we can do. So the first thing we need to do is get a goal. We need to get a goal. Zig Ziglar, who is a businessman and a motivational speaker, says, I don't care how much power, brilliance, or energy you have. If you don't harness it and focus it on a specific target and hold it there, you're never going to accomplish as much as your ability warrants. So this specific target that he's talking about, that's your goal. What are we aiming at to hit? If we're not focused towards that, we're not going to accomplish whatever our ability is. It makes us capable of doing. And then an anonymous quote you've probably seen on every teacher's, well, I guess they don't use chalkboards anymore, do they? But in every classroom, a person who aims at nothing is sure to hit it. I saw this all through growing up, in school and classrooms everywhere. Yeah, if you don't ever have a goal, of course you're always going to hit it because you're not really aiming at anything. You're just wandering. So you want to get a goal. God actually has something to say about what goals should look like as well. In 1 Corinthians 10:31, it says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. So first, your goal has to glorify God. So if you're going to set a goal that is obviously not something that God would glorify God, then it's probably not a good goal. So if you say, I'm going to go rob 20 banks this year, he's going to be like, that's not a goal that you should have. And he's not going to bless that goal. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. So we need to talk to God, too, when we're goal setting. Trust what God has to tell you as well. So take what you're thinking about, the things for your goals, and trust what God has to say more than your own understanding, and he's going to guide you onto the path that you need to take. And then finally, we're going to commit our goal to God. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. So it's not just going to be like by the wayside, oh, I think I'm going to do this, and I'll probably do this. We're actually committing our goal to God and saying, God, this is my goal. I've talked to you about it. This is going to glorify you, and this is what we're going to do. So you can actually take those things and put them in. So what goes into setting a goal anyway? Well, you want to be something super specific when you set a goal. You have to know whether you've actually hit the goal or whether you haven't hit the goal. So it has to be very, very specific. So if you're one of the coaches for Ohio State's team, you're going to be sitting in the locker room planning your goals for the season. You can't just say, my goal is to win every game but the Michigan game. That's not specific enough. the goal actually has to maybe be more specific. We're going to win every game, but the Michigan game, we're just going to lose by less than 40 points. So that way, you can sit down and look at it and specifically know whether you hit that goal or not. You lost by 39. Hey, you actually reached your goal, though, even though you lost by 39 points. So it's got to be super specific. Maybe you're wanting to be a better parent. All parents want to be, most parents want to be better parents to their kids. So what about better parenting do you want to get better at? Do you want to get better at teaching them things, or do you want to spend more time with them, or do you want to be a better example for them? Let's say you want to spend more fun time with your kids because you don't spend enough time with them. So every Friday night is going to be fun night with the kids. All right, now you have a specific goal. You get home on Friday night, did you do something fun with the kids or not? You either hit the goal or you didn't hit the goal. Most people like to set goals here around January to lose weight, right, with the New Year's resolution type thing. If you're setting a weight loss or get in shape goal, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to lose weight, or hey, I'm going to get in better shape. You need to set something specific. I'm going to lose X amount of pounds by X amount of days, or I'm going to exercise 30 minutes, 3 days a week, or whatever. So set them to be super specific. Several years ago, I had a goal. I had never read the Bible from front to back, so my goal for the year was to do the Bible from front to back in 1 year. Specific enough, I think. I knew exactly whether I was going to hit that goal or not hit that goal. So I would get up in the mornings, because that's when I would get up anyway to exercise and stuff, and the kids were still asleep, so I could still focus on things. And that was going to be my time to do my Bible reading plan with God. And things didn't go smoothly after a few weeks, and that'll bring us to our next point before we get into that. After you set a goal, you have to prepare a plan. You have to prepare a plan. Proverbs 21:5 says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. So you have to have a good, solid plan, and obviously you have to work hard to accomplish your goal. That prosperity he was talking about doesn't have to mean money. It can be anything you're setting your mind on doing. So the problem with my plan was I didn't always get enough sleep. So I might be sitting there trying to read or pray. Well, hold on. Before we get to that, is this a judgment-free zone here real quick? Because I want no judgment here. But reading scripture and praying, and I would fall asleep. I know, how unholy of me. I get it. But I was just too tired, and I just could not stay awake when I was reading. Maybe it was the comfy recliner I was in. I don't know, but it wasn't working. Some nights, or some mornings when I got up, I hit the snooze button too many times, and I just had to get up and rush and get ready for work, and I didn't get anything accomplished. So I had a goal, but I didn't have a plan. I actually had to make a plan to allow this to happen. So I had to actually give myself a bedtime so I could go to bed at a certain time so I got enough sleep so I could be focused in the morning. Now, I don't like having a bedtime. I gave my kids a bedtime. I didn't need one, but apparently I did need one so I could accomplish my plan. So once I set a plan in place, I was going to get up in the mornings and do this, but I also had to be in bed the night before. So that means I had to get the rest of my day done by my bedtime. So I had to start actually planning to be able to accomplish my goal. Now, once you've got your plan in place, then comes the hard work, the stuff you have to do repeatedly over and over and over again. So our friend Bruce Lee has a nice quote on this, too. He says, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Now, I don't know if there's actually 10,000 different ways you can kick, but if anybody knew it, Bruce Lee probably did. But if you do all these different things one time, you're not going to be good at any of it. So if you're just spread yourself too thin everywhere, you're really not going to be good at anything. But if you do something 10,000 times in a row, you'll be pretty darn good with it. Now, I didn't do the math on this. I don't know how many mornings 10,000 days is, well, I guess that'd be 10,000 mornings, right? But you do, how good would you be at spending time with God if you did that 10,000 days in a row? I mean, that'd be phenomenal. Or if you're trying to exercise, can you imagine if you got up 10,000 days in a row and got your exercise in? You'd be in great shape. Or what if you spent the next 10,000 Fridays with your kids in the evening having fun? Imagine the relationship you would have with them if you did that over and over and over and over and over again. This is what he's talking about. We have to do stuff repeatedly over and over, and our plan is what allows us to do that. It sets us up for success to do that. Now, what if you need some help with your plan? That's actually a good thing because God doesn't want us to do it alone. Proverbs 15:22 says, plans go wrong for lack of advice. Many advisors bring success. So God doesn't even expect you to do it alone. He wants you to ask for help because it's going to help you and it's going to steer you along. We can't do it alone. Maybe you need to get like an accountability partner, somebody that will help hold you accountable for keeping you on track. Maybe you need to ask for some advice. If you don't know what to do, every Friday evening with your kids, maybe you should talk to them and figure out what they want to do. Maybe you should talk to some other parents who have kids of the same age and what do they like to do. Maybe you should look up some things in the area that you can do with them and find those things and get that help to figure out what to do. If you're planning to lose weight or exercise or whatever, you got to figure out what you're going to do. Maybe you need to go find some people that can help show you what to do and help you guide your path to what you're supposed to eat and what you're not supposed to eat and whatnot. So you need to get some help with your plan. You cannot do it alone. So once you've got a goal, once you prepare a plan, then finally the last thing you need to do is ditch the distractions. You need to ditch the distractions. Bruce Lee, again, has a nice quote on this. It's not the daily increase, but the daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential. So what are you doing that is not essential to you succeeding in your goals? So for me, there were several things that I ran into that was distracting me from accomplishing my goals. So my biggest issue getting to bed on time by my bedtime was Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football, Saturday night college football. Plus Olympics were on the other side of the world, and they were coming on live at like midnight, so I had to stay up and watch that. So sports was a big time distraction. Sports a bad thing? No, but it was stopping me from attempting to reach my goal. Another distraction I discovered when I went to open my YouVersion Bible app in the morning on my phone, there's other apps on my phone too. I could just easily click one of those other apps and I could be scrolling through sports scores and sports news instead of doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I had to turn football games off, and I got to the point where I couldn't even turn the game on if I knew I had to turn it off at a certain point. So one of the ways to ditch the distractions for me was to not even turn on the football game at night. I just wouldn't even watch it because I knew I'd stay up too late watching it. And then for the mornings, I actually had to set a thing on my phone to just shut off all the other apps in the morning. And my wife had the password, so there's no way I was getting that back from me. She would have killed me before she would have gave me that password. So I guess that's a good thing too. But it was a way to cut out any distractions I had that maybe stopped me from reaching my goal. And that's what we're talking about. What do we need to hack out of our life to get to where we need to go? If exercise is a thing, you got to find time to exercise. So what are you willing to give up that's not essential to exercise? If you're spending every Friday night with your kids, what are you willing to give up on those Friday nights to spend time with your kids? Maybe you have to leave work a little bit extra early or make sure everything's done during the week so you can get home on time. Maybe your favorite TV show is on Friday night, and now you're going to have to watch it a different day during the week. There are things that we're going to have to cut to make time for the things that we're supposed to be doing. When I was in college, there was a friend of mine in the honors dorm. I unfortunately did not make it there, but that's okay. But there was a lot of kids there in the honors dorm that were on full ride scholarships. So they had all their tuition paid for, all their books paid for. I mean, this is a free education. So anybody out there with student loans knows how much of a big deal a free education really is, because student loans take forever and ever and ever and ever to pay off. But there was a couple kids in that dorm room that I met that literally never left their dorm room. They didn't go to class, they didn't do anything, and they completely wasted this opportunity. Why? They were distracted by video games. It was nothing but video games. I can't remember the name of the game, but it was like this virtual world you basically lived in, and they were so into this, they would stay up 3 days straight drinking energy drinks, playing this game, living in this virtual world. Then they'd go crash for 24 hours, and they'd get back up and do it again. And they never did any schooling, and they completely wasted it. Talk about a major distraction. And the smell coming from those rooms was also a major distraction, but that's a different type of distraction, I guess. But giving these things up, it'll hurt a little bit, right? We're giving up things that we like, and that's okay. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control." We like that, except the self-control part. But that self-control is in us. He put it there. And that's actually one of the fruits of the Spirit. So once you've accepted Christ, he's put a lot of these things in you, and self-control is one of those. And some of us are better than that than others. Me, obviously not very good, because I couldn't even watch a football game and turn it off. So that self-control is something I needed to work on. It's in me, but I need to work on it. And that's what we need to do to actually give up some of these distractions. The things we really, really like maybe, but we need to back away from them and give them up. And some of that is going to hurt. 1 Peter 3:17 says, "For better to suffer for doing good, if that should be God's will, than for doing evil." And again, maybe it's not something evil that you're doing, but it's going to hurt a little bit when you're doing it. If you have to give up some video game time and you enjoy that, that's going to hurt some. If you have to give up eating pizza and burgers to lose weight, well, for me, that would really hurt, but for some of you, that would hurt as well. And giving up sports was something that hurt a little bit for me, but it stopped me from getting where I needed to go. Now, the more difficult part is some of this distraction might be other people or relationships that you need to step away from. And that's going to hurt even more, because if they are getting in your way of accomplishing your goals by dragging you out and doing some other things, they're going to be upset too. And they may not understand what you're trying to do, and they might say hurtful things, or they might go on social media and, do some passive-aggressive post that they know is related to you, but it may be not. But it's going to hurt a little bit. And God knows that. And that's, it's okay. It's better to hurt a little bit for God's will than it is for doing evil or just doing something that's not going to help you reach your goal. So, what distractions are you willing to give up to reach those goals? If you're wanting to be that better parent that spends more time with their kids, what goals can you set? What plan can you make? And then what distractions are you willing to get rid of to get there? If you want to be a better spouse, or accomplish more at your job, or be a better kid to your parents, or be a better spouse, what are these goals that you can set that are super specific? What are the plans that you can put in place to allow you to be successful? And then identify what those distractions are that you need to be able to reach your goal. I want to leave you with this. It's a verse from Philippians 3:14. It says, "I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us." Now, this race that he's talking about, this is life. We're pressing on to reach the race. and receiving that heavenly prize. That's getting to heaven with God. When we get there, he's going to ask you, what did you do with that gift or that talent or that skill or that ability I gave you? Did you use it or did you waste it? He's going to ask you what he did or what you did with all those opportunities that he provided you. What did you do with this opportunity I gave you? Did you use it or did you waste it? And when we get there, are we going to be telling God, yes, God, I focused in, I set a goal, I planned, I got rid of stuff that was in the way, and I did the most I could with it? Or are we going to be standing in front of him, shaking our head like, yeah, I blew it, and I wasted it. And we're going to be looking back on our life at all these wasted opportunities and gifts that nobody wants. So get a goal, prepare a plan, and ditch the distractions. You just want to focus on God so you can focus your life.